Welcome, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see everybody again.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. So every week we have a different topic under that general umbrella. And if you're new to the show is we broadcast on CIVL on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. You can also catch us live on the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group and my YouTube channel. And we have 5 years worth of podcasts, which
More
you
than
can,
five.
which you can catch on drlesliephillips.com/category podcasts. So there's an enormous amount of information available for you to mine. Now, sometimes on the show, we have guests and we interview them, and other times on the show, we teach information. And for this year, we've been focusing on doing a series on intuition and chakras because I had a new book come out called Intuition and Chakras, published by Llewellyn. And in that book, I go through 22 different psychic abilities and explain how they are channeled through the chakra system and how everybody has their own unique profile of psychic abilities that relate directly to their life purpose. And one of the reasons I wrote the book was because I have a special kind of psychic reading or consult that I do called a psychic ability blueprint, where I draw up a chart and give you information, channel information about you, your life purpose, and your unique profile of psychic gifts. And I thought, wouldn't it be fantastic if I could help talk people through a process to start to discover that for themselves? And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. Another reason was because people are always asking me what their life purpose is. And it's my belief that the answer to what is my life purpose lies within you being able to tap into your own higher guidance and listen to your own uh, higher being, because your own higher being has all of the answers for you. So we've been taking a journey together for the last 6 months, kind of like an informal book club in a way, going through these different 22 psychic abilities that are in the psychic ability blueprint and that are in this book called Intuition and Chakras, which, by the way, it's available on Barnes and Noble, IndieBound, Llewellyn.com, and Amazon. And so if you haven't picked up a copy yet, then please do. Now, we've been through in our series so far all of the chakras.
Oh boy.
We went from the first chakra to the seventh chakra, and we talked about all of the psychic abilities that are channeled through those energy centers. And now we are talking about certain psychic abilities that actually draw from the use of multiple chakras working together. And the one that we're going to do today is maybe a bit more of an unusual one, telekinesis. That's today's subject. And telekinesis is, I'll explain what it is in a minute, but it's a psychic ability where you're drawing from information in your first chakra, which relates to the physical world and material reality. Also from the hand chakras, which allow you to manifest things and manipulate energy, and the sixth chakra and the crown chakra, which the sixth chakra allows you to observe energy, and the crown chakra to know information to know your higher information. So telekinesis is a coordination of information being channeled through all of those psychic centers or chakras. And what is it? It is the ability in real time to change the molecular structure of objects. So, whereas some of the psychic abilities are really common, and I would just say everybody absolutely has them and can learn to use them, this one's a bit more advanced, and there are not that many people alive on the planet today who would be a master of this. I mean, some examples might be, even comes down to things like levitation, you know, or walking on water, or
Luke,
parting
Luke
the Red
Skywalker,
Sea.
when he
Those
calls us
kinds
for
of
his
things.
saber, lightsaber.
But I like to read out of an excerpt from my book anyway, because I think the explanation I have of telekinesis in my book is very good,
It is.
and probably explain it in a much better way. So, telekinesis is the ability to move objects using mind power. The word telekinesis means distant movement. It refers to the ability to move or change the state of an object using your thoughts without physical force. It can include causing an object to move, shake, vibrate, spin, levitate, or even break. It draws on information in the hand chakras, your 6th, 7th, and 1st chakras. Using telekinesis, you can create heat or cold in an object via the speeding up or slowing down of the atoms it's made of. You can also manipulate energetic frequencies such as light, radio waves, magnetic waves, and electricity. And you know, and there are other words for sort of more specialist forms of telekinesis. So, for example, hydrokinesis, the ability to change the molecular structure of water. You know, I don't know, maybe you'd make it boil or make it freeze or make it move in a certain way. Or pyrokinesis, which is the ability to manipulate fire, for example. And there are lots of others as well. Anyway, back to quoting from the book. At present, this isn't a common ability on Earth, but legends speak about ancient ones who could blend with the energies in trees and rocks and water, or manipulate the forces of nature like wind and fire. Consciously controlling matter involves mastery of several energy centers, and you need to be able to visualize or mentally conceive the desired result and channel the energetic frequencies necessary to cause the change. So, and then it says synchronization of conscious intent with the energy waveform of an object can cause it to be reconfigured. There are similarities between healing and telekinesis. They're both drawing from the same energy centers, but one difference might be, let's say somebody's got kidney stones. Somebody using telekinesis could dissolve the kidney stones in real time. Maybe somebody who's doing an energy healing might work on another level than dissolving them in real time, helping people shift their belief system, clear out underlying emotional trauma that had caused the kidney stones, for example. So if you have this ability, you'd be able to move things with your mind. So if spoons bend in people's drawers when you visit, or if clocks and watches stop in your presence, then you might be telekinetic. My father couldn't wear a watch for it changing its time. A fun way to test this is to put a pencil at one end of the table and yourself at the other, concentrate on the pencil and move it towards you using only your willpower. And if you make it move only with your mind, then that might be you being telekinetic. So here's some other examples. So in ancient times, it was used to move massive objects and create buildings and erect monoliths. Also, just think about the indigenous cultures who do a rain dance. That is being able to alter the patterns in the weather is a form of telekinesis, in my opinion. And, you know, one of my favorite authors that I used to love reading his books was Richard Bach. He wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull and the Illusions, the Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. And he talked about in that book cloud busting. And what cloud busting is, just on a beautiful summer's day, to look at the white puffy clouds in the sky and choose a cloud, and with your mind dissolve the cloud. Start with tiny little clouds and work your way up to bigger clouds, and you would be quite surprised and amazed that it works. It actually works. Another example might be bending time. And so I know, like, years ago, I used to travel every other weekend to the United States for the training I was doing. And I had to get up really early to get there. And the, the classes I was attending started at a particular time. No matter what time I got up, whether I was very, very late and I was leaving later than it would be possible for me to drive and get there on time, I always got there on time, and I was never late because I used to focus on changing time, stretching time. So that would be another example that would fall into this category, making time go slower or faster. And so there's some other examples. And there's another example in my book of one of my clients who showed up late. And they said, I'm really sorry I'm late, but the bus broke down. And in fact, 3 buses broke down. So I got on the first bus, and the electrics, because these buses in Vancouver, they run on electrical cables, the bus just broke down. So then they brought a second bus, and I got on that bus, and that one broke down as well. So all in all, I've had to take 3 buses to get here, and that's why I'm late. And they said, in actual fact, I can't figure this out, but this keeps happening to me, and I don't know why. So I took a look at this person, and it was telekinesis, and they weren't in control of their energy. They weren't grounded enough to arc off the excess energy and to channel the energy. So it was just coming out in all directions and causing the malfunction of electrical contraptions. And that might be another example, you know, if these kinds of things break down in your presence, then it might be possible. So I'm going to just read a little bit more from the book, and then we can open our discussion for the evening. Because in every chapter where we talk about these different psychic abilities, there's always a section on, well, how do you know might you have this ability? So if you're attracted to the idea of moving objects through willpower, or if objects such as your keys inexplicably move from one place to another, then you may have this ability. Other examples of telekinesis in action include watches running fast or slow when you wear them, clocks, televisions, electrical equipment, and mechanical devices stopping when you're around, or being very prone to computer crashes. When you're angry, if you've noticed accidents occur around you, drinks spill, glasses smash, even though nobody touched them, it could also be due to unfettered telekinetic energy that you're throwing around. And it can be put to positive use as well. Starting up a broken item, for example, by willing it to be fixed. if it's easier for you to move heavy objects, heavy awkward objects than other people, if you can make a compass move by willing it to move, or classic example, if you bend cutlery like Uri Geller, then you could be exhibiting signs of this ability. And then at least give cloud busting a shot, and at the least you'll have some fun trying it out.
I like the heavy object thing.
Yeah, and there is a thing, I'm sure everyone listening, most of you will have done this when you were a kid. And I can't remember it exactly, so feel free to write in the chat. But you get a group of people together, and then you all choose one person that you're going to lift. And then everybody uses one finger. And there's
Two.
something that they say, is it two? There's something that they say before they do it. And then inexplicably and unbelievably, they can lift this heavy person.
I don't know if that's as much as telekinesis as it is physics, but it is very
Or
accurate.
belief. I think there must be some belief involved in that. All right, folks. So you're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. Tonight's topic is telekinesis. Can you move objects with your mind? Can you change the molecular structure of things? Make spoons bend, make clocks stop, make the wind howl and the rain pour, or levitate, or walk on water. So
I'm going to make us go for a break right now.
sounds like a really good idea. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Hello.
We're doing our Intuition and Chakras series in celebration of my book that came out this year called Intuition and Chakras, where you go with me on a journey through your chakra system and the psychic abilities that are channeled through those chakras. Yep. Where you learn about your unique psychic ability blueprint and how it relates to your life purpose. And we've had an episode on every single psychic ability.
It's wonderful.
We're working our way through them. And we're approaching the end of the series. The end of the series is set to finish at the end of the year, and we're in December, aren't we? So there's not that many episodes left. And so tonight's episode is telekinesis.
And Letitia says, what you used to say when you're doing that thing with lifting people, it says, light as a feather, stiff as a board.
That's right. I remember that now.
How do you remember that, Letitia?
Yeah, very good. So, folks, I want to open up to your questions. Maybe it's a bit early to open up to your questions, but anything goes. So share with us any experience that you've had or people that you've known in your life with this type of ability. Share your stories, and that would be fun. Ask your questions, and we can open up to a wider range of questions as well.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be based on telekinesis. It can be based on anything you'd like it to be based on.
That's right.
That's within the metaphysical realm of metaphysical,
yes.
that is.
Yes, there's probably some things I can't answer.
We have a question from Brian. So what if things act better when you're around? Like in my case, computers. People always want my help with the computers, and sometimes just being around them, they seem to almost correct themselves. People seem amazed and stumped. I have that same thing.
That is amazing, isn't it? And one theory I have about that is if you're a very grounded person and you're bringing a very grounded energy to the situation. So often if I've got something going wrong with the computer, I'll ground the computer, for example, and that sometimes works to sort it out. But I can have a look at that in your case specifically, but that's my first hit, is that it's because you're grounded.
Mm.
And because you believe and expect that this will happen. It's like it's happened enough that you believe in yourself so much that you believe that that's what will happen in your presence. And so that in itself is magnetizing and manifesting that exact experience for you. But I see that you're just bringing, when I look at the vibration that you're bringing to it, it's a gold vibration. And it feels, that vibration it's a very high vibration. It's I call it a Christ force vibration. It's a vibration of love. And of course, that was the vibration that Christ was in when he performed healings. So I think it's a combination of, you believe in yourself, you believe you can do this, you're in a grounded state, and you're in an energy state that is conducive to order and things working and functioning. And thank you very much for sharing that.
And the opposite is true, I guess. Like some people go near computers, like your dad, or people go near computers and they break.
Yeah, and I think that those people are ungrounded. It's kind of like that story that I told about my client who all the buses were breaking down. That client wasn't grounded. And then, but when that client practiced grounding, the situation changed and they stopped breaking down. Because what's happening is that this energy is just arcing off and affecting things. But if the person grounds, then they're containing their energy. And just like an electrical grounding, they are, any overage of energy is being sent safely to the earth.
I had a friend of mine who used to play in the stock market, and he had a buddy who used to play in the stock market as well. And whenever he wanted to look at a new stock and what to buy, he would, like look at his buddies' um, portfolio, what he was buying, and he would buy just the opposite. He wouldn't buy his stuff because it was really interesting. Whenever he did, his stocks went down. Whenever he bought the stocks that his friend had, his stock, the price would just tumble. So, but when he didn't buy them, they went well. It was very interesting, very strange. Do you think that is a form of telekinesis, or change the energy around the stocks?
Gosh, I don't know. I'd have to look at that.
Why
I'd
don't
have
you?
to. What was
Then
the
we got
first?
a question from George.
What's the first name of the friend you're talking about?
Harv.
Parv. Do you know his friend that he was
No,
the example? Okay.
no.
Well, the first thing that comes up, oddly enough, was that his friend was a good investor and was actually doing well. So it wasn't that his friend was a bad investor. I'm seeing his friend was a good investor. And then the person that you knew, to me, it looks like he made that story bigger than it was. So there might have been one or two examples rather than every time, and he made it into a big story
Mm,
that he could expound and impress people with.
of
That's what
course.
I'm seeing about that.
Okay, we have a question from George. George says, many times I look at the light posts and the lights go out right at that moment. It's not my mind doing that. It's the way I tune in the light information telling me to look at it when it goes out. I'm laughing because we do. Where was it that we had a light that was doing
In
that a lot?
our
Every time
last
we went
house in
by.
our last neighborhood,
Oh
we
yeah,
used to
yeah,
do a
that's right.
circuit around the neighborhood, and every time we would get close to this
It's
lamp,
one light.
one lamppost, it would go out. And then as we walked further away from it, it would go on again.
Yeah. Then we'd
Yeah,
stand and watch it, and it wouldn't go off. Then we'd walk towards it, and it would go off.
yeah,
It was weird.
it was weird. Yes. So, well, that's interesting, George. That reminds me of another story that happened to me. Um, and I didn't put this, I don't think I put this story in my book. I might have done. I can't, I don't know. But I was hiking. I was hiking with one of those meetup group hiking groups, probably over 10 years ago, because it was, but anyway, I was with this group and we were hiking in BC in this place called Othello Tunnels. And these are these old, unused railway tunnels. And there's a nice walk you can do, and you're going in and out of these tunnels. And this hiking group, everyone was really slow and they weren't really exercising. And there was me and two other women said, oh, we want to, go ahead because we want to get our heart rate up and we want to get a proper hike. And so we went ahead of the rest of the group and we were walking through one of these tunnels, and the whole of reality dissolved except for our bodies. So it was like we were hovering in midair, and energy was rushing past us really, really, really fast underneath our feet, above our heads, and on either side. And when it first happened, I didn't say anything because I thought, well, that's just me with my psychic stuff, and if I say anything to these women, they'll think I'm mad. But more or less at the same point I had that thought, they both went, whoa, what's that? And all three of us had this experience at the same time. We still had our bodies, but there was nothing else, just energy moving really like light speed past us. And so it's like we continued sort of walking in thin air, and then gradually the reality reformed around us, and we came out the other end of the tunnel, and we went back in the tunnel and we tried to recreate the experience, and it didn't happen the second time. And then we waited at the end of the tunnel for the other hikers to come through to see if it happened to them, and it didn't happen to them. But that was the ultimate experience of you. In a way, you create your reality, and everything is an illusion. It's a projection of consciousness. And when I asked my spiritual teacher about that at the time, that's basically what she said. You were lucky that you didn't dissolve your bodies as well, that it was an experience where we had basically dissolved reality in order to experience that. So, listeners, do you have any fun stories like that? We'd love to hear them.
Sure. So Sylvie has an interesting question. I like your question, Sylvie. It's really interesting. I like it. I like it. Can telekinesis be used on people or only objects? And if so, do we call it healing? Can we call it healing?
Yeah, were you tuning in earlier in the show? We talked about that a little bit. So telekinesis is being able to manipulate physical matter. So a body, somebody's body, a person. I mean, a person is more than their body, but their body is made of physical matter. So, for example, a miracle healing, like instantaneous dissolving of kidney stones or gallstones, or instantaneous repair of something in the system, that level of healing ability, I would say there's a touch of telekinesis in that, because you are in real time impacting the and rearranging the molecular structure of things, either by dissolving them or repairing them. And so, I'd say there's overlap, really. Someone with telekinetic powers could be a very, very powerful healer.
Oh, when she asked that question, I was more or less thinking of sitting there and bending people, of course,
Turning
or
them into bendy rubber people.
yeah, or throwing them across a room, of course, like.
Oh, like you see on the movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Superhero
yeah. And
style.
Natasha says, "Wow, that was amazing, Dr. Leslie, the tunnel experience."
It really was. Yeah, it
Lucky
was.
you knew what was happening, because otherwise it could have been scary.
Well, I don't know that I knew at the time it was happening what was happening, but I mean I have so many experiences day in, day out, all year long, and have been for years and years and years. Nothing seems extraordinary to me. So it didn't phase me. um, but I don't think I clued in at the time. I'm dissolving reality until afterwards. Oh.
So George was wondering. He says, "Were all the women in your group on the Othello tunnel, were they all interested in psychic abilities?"
No.
He's been in the tunnels a few times, he says, and I'm going to search the net for similar stories.
Yeah, no. I never met those women before in my life on that hike or after. It was just this strange meeting of these three souls that just came together to have this experience and then went their separate ways. But as far as I know, they weren't into psychic abilities. They were, as far as I know. I can't really remember their stories now or who they were actually, because it was such a relatively long time ago. But I think I was the only, strange psychic lady in the group.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
It just, it's the only psychic lady in the group. They are now, though. Did
yes.
you explain what happened to them, or did you just leave it at that?
Uh, no, I didn't explain what happened. I think we were just together trying to figure out what happened and recreate it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
The I'm sorry, that was Natasha who said, "Wow, that's amazing." Not Letitia, Natasha.
So, I mean, any of you who are listening, share your stories, any strange experiences that you have had like that. We would love to hear it. Have you tried cloud busting?
Well, cloud busting is fun. I read that book as well, and I enjoyed that book, the cloud busting book. And I used to lay there and do it as well. And actually, sometimes it really works well. Sometimes my being wasn't completely into it, but it does work.
Right.
Yeah. I remember another book, what's the one where they all went down to South America? That was,
The Celestine Prophecy.
yeah, the Celestine Prophecy, and they were in that garden, and all the plants were all turning different colors and having auras around them, and they were making, and the plants were moving and stuff like that. It's not exactly the same thing, but
No, that's their clairvoyance. That's their
yeah,
ability to see energy, because, of course, all plants do have an energy field around them. And we tend not to see that because we're so tuned into our physical vision.
yeah, yeah. I remember my car wouldn't start one day, and I just sort of looked at it and did some magic on it, if you want to call it that, and it started. And then I took it to the mechanic. He says, "How did you get this thing started?" He says, "You never should have started." But that was more healing than it was thing. But now, one more time, I'm going to look into my crystal ball and I'm going to go, it's time for a break.
All right. Well, everyone who's tuning in live, think of your questions and during the break, write them in the chat and we will come back and answer them.
Or try.
I don't think there's ever been a question that we've not answered.
No.
We've never said, oh, I don't know an answer to that.
No. We've always had answers, or you've always had answers at least. You've had right answers. I've had wrong answers. We work as a team.
All right. Well, you let me know when we got to go back on air. Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey.
Hello.
And if you're just tuning in, Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And every week we have a different topic under that umbrella that we talk about. And tonight's topic is telekinesis, the ability, the psychic ability to change the molecular structure of an object so it behaves differently, whether it's bending a spoon, speeding up a clock, making a compass spin round and round, dissolving a kidney stone, walking on water, or any other number of amazing things. And so this is a real ability. It is an advanced ability. And in India, they would call this a siddhi power. And it would be one of the most advanced siddhi powers. So someone who's a siddhi master would be able to do these kinds of feats, like levitate. Also control, and I wouldn't be in favor of doing this, but control other people, control the minds of other people. That's a siddhi power, which is quite revered as an amazing thing. I think that that's an invasion of somebody else's space, and I wouldn't advocate it, but that's, if you read those writings about, I mean, siddhi powers, they're just psychic abilities. It's just an Eastern name for the same thing. And so a siddhi master is just someone who has really cultivated their chakras and mastered their energy and mastered their psychic abilities. So
we have some questions. I had an experience once when I was coming, I had to be downtown Vancouver, and I was coming from Maple Ridge at that time. I lived downtown, but I was coming from Maple Ridge, and I was late. I had 20 minutes to get downtown, which was a 40-minute trip. And I just remember going, no, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it on time. And I'd look at the clock, and it was like, just as an example, it was 12:01, right? And I drive for a while, look at the clock, it was 12:01. Drive for a little while longer with the 12:02, but it was incredible, and I made it on time. I could not believe it, but it was for a job interview, but I made it on time. It was phenomenal. It was just one of those experiences that you really just never forget, and I've done that more than once in a way, but that was a very critical time. And I got stuck in traffic and everything. And I was just like, I wasn't, me, I get nervous when I'm late, but this time I wasn't nervous about it at all. It was very, very cool, calm, and collected. So we got a couple more things.
Sure.
And I'm going to make Natasha a good friend of ours after this one. She says, I can make it stop raining. And one time I did it in front of my mom. We wanted to go to a shop and it was pouring and the clouds started to pull back and the sky became lighter and the rain stopped. My mom said, don't tell anyone you can do that.
Well, I believe you, Natasha. And it's funny, I had experiences myself of that. In fact, I used to have a house in East Vancouver, And I used to sit on the back deck and make the wind come, make the wind stop. Let the rain come, let the rain stop. And people would think you were a bit mad, wouldn't they, if you said that you could do that? But I believe I did it. I believe you did it. I believe that we can do that. And I believe that, you know, these cultures that do rain dances and so on, that's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah.
So thanks for
Well,
sharing.
if you believe in manifestation, and most of us, I'm sure, that are on the call tonight, if you believe in manifestation, then it's not a far cry to actually change the energy around something. It's very close and very similar.
And if you believe you create your own reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Curious George says, Curious Soul says, I don't want to appear that guy, but I have that ability too. Need to study the phenomenon. For the last several months, the weather gets better when I go flying or work on the roofs. Coincidences? Big question mark.
Yeah.
You saying yes, it is?
I'm
Coincidences?
saying, yeah, great. I don't think it's a coincidence. You love to go flying. You want nice flying weather. So create nice flying weather for yourself. That's great.
I must ask, George, you use a plane or do you just fly?
I think he used the plane.
Because that would be a really good telekinetic power.
Yeah. No, very cool, George. And jealous of you going flying as well.
We have a question from Letitia, or a comment. I'm not sure. Let me put it on so I can read it. Stop it. Be right back here.
Yeah, so listeners, you're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth, and we're talking about telekinesis, and we're inviting you to post your questions.
Okay, so Letitia says, a lot of times, even in your book, you often say, if you've ever experienced this over many different situations, you talk about it in many different situations. So almost always, oops, hang on a second. I got a speaker going here at the same time. So almost always I get a little bummed because I'm like, nothing odd, different, phenomenal has really happened to me. Yet I feel such a pull to this lifestyle. Will experiences happen to me in the future?
Okay, well, yeah, you're right. In my book, I pepper it full of examples from my own life and examples from my clients, my students, and or other people that I know. And I'm doing that because I'm trying to make it more approachable and giving simple examples where people can say, oh, wow, yeah, you know, I had a similar experience to that. I'm very surprised that you haven't had a single experience, Letitia. And I bet if we explored it a bit together, we could we could find that you had. Um, and so I mean, it looks to me, and you tell me, do you sometimes have a sense of knowing where you just know stuff? It looks to me that you do. That would be an example.
Yep.
So, you know, but I would say if you have a strong draw to this, you love it, you want to know more, and you commit to it, then yes, you can develop it. And that's why I offer all of these courses for people, because it does take commitment, it does take practice, it does take, you know, meditating every day. So, you know, it's not a case of, in a way, just waiting for it to drop out of the sky. It's to make a commitment and pursue practices that can help you to cultivate those experiences. But I guarantee if that's what you decide to do, then you absolutely will have experiences of your psychic abilities. And I haven't met a single person yet who's come to me and asked me to help them to do that that hasn't been able to.
There's also another thing that it's like you see it a lot in manifestation. I'll use there's a magic show I watched once, and the magician was taking big balls of paper, like this, first he started a little one, and he was going and throwing it at people. And what he would do is he wouldn't release it until he went past them, and he came back out, like went past them, and it would sort of like look like it disappeared. And the thing is, people weren't being able to see it because their vision, they weren't focused on what he was doing with his hand when he went past. Same with manifestation. A lot of times we look to manifest, we set intentions, but then we don't see or experience the manifestation because we're looking for something different or not looking for something. We
Or
have
it
to,
happens so far ahead of when we actually do it, we don't recognize that the two are connected.
yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, I'll use my friend Michelle's example again, and because it's such an evident, it's so evident. And she used to say, she was single, she was divorced, and stuff like that. And she used to say, she's like, I'm sorry, I clicked on the speaker here, so I have two things going. So she would say, I'm looking for a man. I want a man in my life. And she said, I don't know. I'll never find anybody, and things like that. And I used to watch her, and she would have men flocking around her at all times, and nice people, nice, good looking men, intelligent men, but she would never see them. And then one day I told her this, and she said, "Oh no, you're imagining things." I'm going, "No, it's not an imagination. It is what it is. It is happening." And it's quite interesting how you need to be on task also, not just wanting, but also noticing. And like Dr. Leslie said, she's sure that you have had experiences, just not quite seeing
Notice
them.
them. Yeah, it looks like there's another question. It
There's
says,
lots of questions.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay. Um, from Sylvie says, I was told in the past from a psychic that she could see what looked like fireworks shooting off of my body. Is that what you would consider telekinesis? Does this mean I need to ground myself more?
Did you say fire or fireworks?
Fireworks.
Ah, there could be different reasons for that, and it's not necessarily telekinesis, but grounding certainly helps you get your energy under control. Um, you know, it could be any number of reasons for that. Even your chakras can look like Catherine wheels spinning, fireworks. So I don't know what that other psychic was seeing, but if it's your energy sparking off in all directions, then grounding would help you to get that more under control.
Definitely. So we have some more here for you. Okay. Okay. Brian says, a question, a little off topic. Can you see if I have any energy blocks? I have been having these minor physical pains in different areas on and off for no real reason. I've heard it's kind of an energetic growing pains due to all the energetic changes taking place right now.
Absolutely correct. That's exactly what I was going to say, Brian. So that looks correct to me. And I mean, I imagine that they might be actually shifting and changing and moving around. So right now, it feels like there's something around the first chakra area, and actually maybe even something in the legs. But it absolutely, as the energy shifts and changes, and as the vibration goes up, things are coming out of the woodwork, and your body is like the woodwork that things are coming out of. So the things that are not matching the current vibration are coming up for review and release. So yes, I think a lot of people are having those kinds of experiences right now where there'll be a physical symptom and maybe it just lasts a short time and then it goes away, and then another one comes along. And it's just this rapid pace of change that we are all going through on the planet right now. And the best thing is not to resist and not to panic and not to go into fear and not to think there's something terribly wrong, but just, well, you know, here's another release happening.
Mm. George says, he makes a comment that he says, non-belief makes the brain's prefrontal cortex be programmed to filter out experiences we want to experience. Not
Yes.
believing in these abilities is like driving with the brakes on.
Yeah,
Very much so.
absolutely. The biggest block that I see to the biggest barrier to people experiencing their psychic abilities is exactly what George just said, the prefrontal cortex. That's the area of the brain that's responsible for analytical thinking. And we are so trained to have our energy focused there in the frontal lobes of the brain, being intellectual and analytical about everything and doubting. So it will come in and it will doubt. So you will have an experience that's instant, uh, intuition firing, and the intellect will just grab it and doubt it. So one of the biggest challenges is how to bypass the intellect, how to learn the difference between your intuition and your intellect, and how to give permission to for yourself to listen to the intuition and the higher guidance, and put the intellect in its proper place, which is as a tool for you to use to help navigate physical reality, because that's its job.
Okay. So Natasha says, yes, Dr. Leslie, exactly. And it does take practice. And I'm in a state of gratitude when I make it stop raining. I talk to the rain and thank it and then make my request. Nothing in our reality is really separate from us. Very true.
Very true, Natasha. And gratitude is a very high vibration and is a vibration that is conducive to manifesting.
Okay. And we're starting to run out of time here. So Letitia says, yes, I do sometimes get the sense of knowing, and I love that you give real life examples to relate to it. Makes much better sense that way. And here's a question that Leslie would loves hearing. Can you tell me about your courses?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'd love to. Well, I have a course called Unlock Your Intuition, and the next group of students will be starting in January. And Unlock Your Intuition is, I call it, we can use the word foundation course, but that doesn't mean it's basic, because it isn't. It's very advanced. That course helps you to clear your blocks and develop your psychic abilities, and provides you with a foundation of energy techniques that you can then take forward to my more advanced courses. I have courses on clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance, clairsentience, transmediumship, kundalini, manifestation, and more. And you can go to my website, drlesliephillips.com, and click on where it says courses, and then you'll be able to see most of the courses listed there.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to put that link on, and we'll go to another quick question because we're running out of time. And okay, so that's there. This is from Brian. Brian says, you've done that. We've done that one already. Omar says, have you ever heard of third eye surgery? It consists on someone activating your third eye.
Well, I've never heard it called that before. Some of these more Eastern teachers, the city masters and the guru type people, will say that they're doing an activation, you know, and you're getting a special activation from their lineage to enhance your third eye. But to be honest with you, they're just helping you move blocks, you know, and that kind of thing. That's really what I believe that they're doing. You know, you don't need a guru to activate something. I mean, I can move people's energy all the time. I can turn their kundalini on. I can, you know, I can all of that. So I've not heard it called the third eye surgery, but you don't need another person to wave a magic wand to make you be able to see with your third eye. You can learn to do it within yourself and for yourself. And so some teachers like me will teach you how to do that for yourself rather than saying we have a magic wand and we'll do special surgery on your third eye.
Well, Dr. Leslie, it's time to do surgery on our show. So say goodbye to all our friends.
Goodbye, listeners. We'll be back next Tuesday at 7. And I can't remember what psychic ability we're going to talk about, but there'll be one. See you next time.
Okay, take care, all.
Bye.